Hello everyone, welcome to Everything Arsenal. So I was literally about to start recording the latest updates on Gyokeres until David Onstein has dropped this bomb right now, and he says Arsenal are in the process of completing move for Viktor Gyokeres after taking final steps in negotiations with Sporting Lisbon. So we've reopened the talks. A couple of days ago, they said it's looking very difficult because Arsenal are not going to move and Sporting are not going to move. But it looks like Arsenal are back negotiating with them, and we are taking the final steps of getting it done. And whenever David Onstein says this, we're also about to get a here we go very, very soon from Fabrizio Romano as well. Arsenal made formal advances on deal terms over the weekend in bid to secure 27-year-old 5-year contract lined up. So this deal is almost done. That is absolutely great news because yesterday there was a lot of very, a bit scary updates because the Sporting guy was like, nah, if you want to pay the money, you're going to pay. If you have to pay the money, I'm not going to sell this player unless you pay the money. Actually, we'll go through everything that has happened this weekend to leading up to this point. So it's looking like it's going to be very good news for us Arsenal fans. I cannot wait for that. Here we go, and the confirmation from David Onstein as well. Now, David Onstein in his article, this is what he's had to say about it all. Arsenal in the process of completing a deal to sign Viktor Gyokeres after taking final steps in negotiations with Sporting for the striker over the weekend. Talks have been prolonged by Sporting President Federico Varandas, refusing to accept that what Gyokeres believes is an agreement to leave this summer for 60 million plus 10 million in add-ons. It goes on to say that amount is exceeded by Arsenal's proposals, and they have now made formal advances over terms of switch in bid to close the proposed transfer. So we are looking to finalize it very soon. Gyokeres has not returned to pre-season training with Sporting amid his desire to join the Premier League club, and a 5-year contract is lined up. The 27-year-old Sweden international emerged as Arsenal's preferred target to recruit a specialist centre forward and prioritize them all other suitors over all other suitors. While manager Arteta wants him to join the squad at the earliest opportunity. So we are also told that Arteta wants a striker before Arsenal travel to Asia. So that's why I've always been confident we're going to get the deal done. I don't think it will get to this point where Gyokeres does not want to play for them. He's not going back to training, not going back for their pre-season warm-up and giving up his own money. That is a deal. That is a deal that is going to happen. And then obviously it goes on to talk about how he did at Sporting and Gyokeres contributions for Coventry as well. So that is the breaking news for David Onstein. Just before we read this is what I was about to talk to you guys about, and this is what has been going on the last couple of hours. So Henry Winter earlier today said the fee for Viktor Gyokeres' move to Arsenal is virtually agreed, with just add-ons being debated and dealing with the agent's substantial cut, which Arsenal are being strong on. So he was pretty accurate with that as well. He's basically saying we've already agreed the deal. The only problem is the add-ons. So, how the add-ons going to be paid, I guess I mean it's tough to know, but basically how much add-ons are going to be there, how long after they're going to be paid, what do we need to achieve, or Gyokeres does to achieve for them to get those add-ons. So that is usually not a problem to agree on. I don't think you can do all those negotiations, agree with the player, basically almost agree with a president or staff as this one, and then the deal falls apart because of add-ons. I don't think that is going to be the case. So we are going to get a here we go very soon for Viktor Gyokeres. Next up, this is what Miguel Delaney said earlier today as well. Arsenal's stance is to offer 65 million plus 5 to 10 million in add-ons for Gyokeres, but Sporting wants 70 million with no add-ons. So that is not a big gap, man. That's like literally less than 10 million gap. The situation mirrors the Benjamin Sesko pursuit, where talks have been temporarily paused over 10 million euros. But the difference is the Swedes' desire to leave. So that has really helped us. That has really helped the situation. The player really, really wanting to leave has helped us, because if Gyokeres was just happy to stay or happy to move away, you just have been like, hey, you guys agree. If you don't agree on something, I'm happy to stay at Sporting. But this is a player who 100% wants to leave, and luckily for us, he 100% wants to join Arsenal and no other team. So that benefits us massively. If there was any other teams in the negotiations, it would have been even more complicated, because the Sporting president would have been like, hey, I'm waiting for a bid from Liverpool, I'm waiting for a bid from Barcelona, a bid from Bayern Munich, and then things would get even more complicated. But as of now, it's Arsenal that are in the picture alone, and the player really wants to join us, and we've basically virtually agreed the deal according to that report. So So next up, what happened yesterday as well from this one. So Viktor Gyokeres was asked about the situation yesterday, and he said the most important thing for me is to play for a club that really wants me. That is Arsenal. We really want you. That is us over here. The Premier League is one of the biggest leagues in Europe. I spent several years there without being able to play a single match here. Obviously, he was at Brighton, he was at Swansea before. So, of course, it's something I'd like to do. It would be a great revenge. So, he has something to prove in the Premier League, because fair enough as well, because a lot of people have been saying you've been scoring those goals in Portugal, you're not going to be doing it in England, and the fact that he never really got to play for teams like Brighton and Swansea in the league when they were Premier League teams, he has a lot to prove. He definitely has a lot to prove, and I think he will be motivated. And that is the kind of player you want. A player who has 100 goals in the last 2 seasons, and on top of that, he's motivated. That is the kind of player you want to join your team. So that is what he had to say yesterday. So Viktor Gyokeres did not comply with Sporting's order to go back to training yesterday. He did not show up this Saturday to before the team's departure for the training camp. The Swede is officially on strike. Sporting's bus left without him, so he's not part of their preseason training. He was supposed to report back, I think, even Friday, and the team was leaving yesterday, but he did not come back. So that is a player 100% wants to leave the club. Now, what can Sporting do about it? There's 3 ways you can go about it. So Sporting can either just agree with Arsenal and say, you know what, we're just going to take whatever you're giving us. Let's move on with that situation. Number 2, they can fine Gyokeres and even cancel his contract, but they're not going to do that because they know they're going to get a lot of money for him. Or 3, get back to negotiations with Arsenal and see if they're going to reach a compromise. So that is what has happened. Arsenal and Sporting are going to have been back to negotiating this weekend, and it's looking like we are about to agree something with them that will finally get the deal done. Finally, man, we've waited for such a long time for a striker, let alone just having Gyokeres. We've waited so long for a striker, and we've had to wait again a couple of more weeks for it to be done. So this one will be done. Very confident about it. But yesterday it didn't look that way, because yesterday the way the Sporting president was talking, it got a lot of people scared. So this is what he had to say yesterday. If they don't want to pay Viktor's fair market value, we are very comfortable with that for the next 3 years. This strategy is also making it more complicated for the player to leave. Nobody is above the interests of the club, whoever they are. We are calm. Everything will be resolved with the market. I'm closing a hefty fine and an apology to the group. So, I don't think Gyokeres will do all that. I do not think he's going to want to go back to the team and apologize to people and apologize to the president and the coach and all that. I don't think so. So Gyokeres is basically just probably sitting somewhere in the airport waiting for Arsenal to finalize this deal. And then I think he will be with Arsenal for the Asia tour for sure. Will he join up with the team in Spain, or will he join up with the team just next week after they come back from Spain? Let's wait and see. But yesterday, a lot of people were a bit worried about this Sporting president. But hey, there's 2 ways to look at it. Number 1, he basically did not go with what he had agreed with Gyokeres. They had said, listen, next season I'm going to let you go for 60 million. And right now he's jumped ship. He's basically switched the story and said, I do not know anything about that. I want a lot of money for you. That is it. But number 2, if you look at it from the other direction as well, the other side, Gyokeres is a very good player. Why would he sell him for 60 million, even though they had a gentleman's agreement? When it comes to money getting involved, there's nothing like gentleman's agreement. Unless something is signed, you're going to be wasting your time. Because if Gyokeres went ahead and scored even more goals than he did the previous season, of course the president is going to be like, hey man, no, you're not going to live for that kind of money. But he's done that before as well with Pedro Porro, who joined Tottenham. I think they had agreed that he was going to leave, and then he changed the story midway and was like, nope, actually that is not the case. I want more money. So he's done it before. So tough team to negotiate with, tough president to negotiate with. But it's going to be very interesting to see what is going to happen now. Arsenal going to eventually pay that money that he wants, or is he going to be the one that is going to, allow us to pay the much amount of money that we want? So that will be very interesting. If we do actually end up paying as much as Bata wanted us to pay, then that will be incredible negotiations, because that Sporting guy was not looking like he was going to budge at all. We still don't know if he's going to budge. Graham Bailey says Viktor Gyokeres is hoping to fly to England next week to complete his long-awaited move to Arsenal. So things are looking good with that one. Things are looking very good with this one. At least we have an update on, I think it was Thursday or Friday. It was very quiet. Nothing was said about Gyokeres, and people are like, hey, this is a bit scary, because Arsenal have said that they have a third option in Watkins. Could they just be like, nope, you're not going to pay that money for Gyokeres, you're going to go for Watkins instead go for Vlahovic instead? All that is very scary. So luckily we are back trying to do this deal. I think also the player trying to join us that much has also helped the situation. Graham Bailey also said the club sources have revealed that the Arsenal camp and Viktor Gyokeres have not been affected by Varanda's comments yesterday, with the Gunners expecting it to happen and talks continuing. So we've reopened the talks, trying to finalize this deal. It is going to happen, guys. No panic. Do not panic. It is definitely going to happen. And then Sky Sports also reported this earlier. Arsenal understood to be relaxed about the pursuit of Sporting striker director. I don't want the director, I want their striker, Gyokeres. The feeling is that the dispute between Sporting and Gyokeres has nothing to do with them. Arsenal will remain disciplined in their approach to the deal and have a price in mind. So yeah, a lot of fans want them to, just pay what they want. I don't think they're going to do that. If they had an agreement with Sporting and Gyokeres that you're going to pay 60 million, and then after 3 months they talk about 80 million, they're probably not just going to pay. Now, it's very important, obviously, in the market. If people just see you getting bullied and paying 80 million when you're told it's 80 million and you had been told it's 60 million a month before, everything will probably try to do that to you. Eze would be like, Crystal Palace would be like, we actually want 90 for Eze. So someone like an Andrea Bata, he knows how to approach everything, so he's very experienced. That is why I'm confident about the deal getting done. If you had the inexperienced regime from before, then you'd be like, oh, this is a bit worrisome. Are we actually going to get the player? But because we brought in Andrea Bata to do this for us, I'm sure he's going to get it done. So let's see how it goes. Even if you eventually end up paying that money, as long as Gyokeres ends up as a national player, I'll be very, very happy with that. Now, more good news today, and that is on Ethan Nwaneri. Fabrizio reported that Arsenal have made progress in the recent days for Ethan Nwaneri's new deal. The club has presented a vision and project for Nwaneri in the upcoming years, including discussions on game time. Arsenal hopeful to get green light and sign new contract soon. So I think that the thing was all about game time, and obviously the player was also playing for England, so that had a bit of a delay. Now, personally, I think Nwaneri played a lot last season, same with Lewis Kelly. Did he play as much as we wanted him to play, or he should have played? Probably not, because there's a time where Odegaard was not fit. Maybe Nwaneri should have gotten a few more chances. And then obviously at the end of the season, even in the games that didn't matter, Nwaneri wasn't coming on at all. We were bringing in players who were going to be leaving, a week later, 2 weeks later, players like there's a lot of times even playing Tierney on the wing when he was about to leave, and Nwaneri is on the bench, and players like Jorginho, all these guys, maybe you could have used that spot to bring in Nwaneri off the bench, but we didn't. We're using players who are about to leave. So I do think, I've always been confident about this one as well. I do think he's going to sign a new contract. He still has 1 year to go on his contract at the moment. It would have been crazy if Arsenal let him go. Especially to Chelsea. That is not a player you let go at all. So I've always been confident that Arsenal would sit down with him, try to discuss it again, and maybe even just relax again and wait for maybe during the season to try and finalize it so that he can sign a new contract before next year and all that. But he will sign a new contract, according to Fabrizio Romano. Things are going good right now. Where is he going to get his game time? We have to wait and see, because Madueke is now an Arsenal player, looking like we could also sign Eze. We now will have a striker in Gyokeres. Will Nwaneri be just a backup for Saka? Will Madueke be playing on the left side? All that we have to wait and see what happens, because at the moment it is very, very tough to predict. But that's the latest. Nwaneri about to sign a new contract. Gyokeres, things are going good, according to David Ornstein. I'm sure usually when you see that, you usually get the next update from Ornstein very, very soon after. And also here we go is around the corner. So let's wait to celebrate that as soon as possible. Things are looking good at the moment. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch up with you guys on the next one.